Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to Tea and Hot Sauce with myself and Orlando. Orlando is hopefully going to be joining us a little bit later. And in the meantime, I'm going to kick off with, let me just get up a chart of dollar yen, because this is something that I was looking at for potential intraday trading earlier on. In fact, I was looking for things to set up starting yesterday. The reason that I was looking at this is a few reasons, really. The trends that I have been trading have been gradually coming to an end over the last few days. So those strongly trending index markets, the Nasdaq, the S&P, etc., the strongly trending Aussie dollar pairs, they're just not trending as nicely as they have been. Which leads me to look at other options. And in all honesty, there aren't a lot of things that are really fully and strongly trending on the daily time frame at the moment. And I usually base my trades on what's happening on the daily time frame. So when this happens, what I like to do is I like to look for chart patterns, whether those are consolidation patterns, whether they're reversal patterns, whether they're continuation patterns. I like to see some kind of chart pattern so that I can base my trading on that. And with dollar yen, while I can't really draw a very nice, clean, clear pattern on here because it's just not very clean, I do have consolidation where I've got these lows that are pretty much remaining the same and the highs that are pretty much getting lower, apart from the odd spike through here and stuff. So what I was looking at was I was looking for a breakout specifically of these three candles here. These three candles here are, this is a double inside bar formation. So with this double inside bar formation, what we can tend to find is that a breakout from that can be quite strong. And so my thought process behind this was, if price breaks out on either side, it could be a reasonably strong move. So it could have broken out up here, or it could have broken out down here. Either way, I would have been looking for a potentially strong move. However, my preference was for a break to the downside, because then within my chart pattern, I can potentially trade down to these lows. Very conservatively, I probably wouldn't aim right down for those lows, but somewhere higher up. But on an intraday time frame, that could look quite nice. The other thing that I was looking at was the monthly pivot. Let me just drag the monthly pivot onto the chart. So the monthly pivot is right here as well. And what I was looking for was a breakdown outside of the double inside bar formation. And I was looking for that to continue through the monthly pivot. And I was looking to take a trade short, hopefully at the monthly pivot, in order to trade down, perhaps even all the way down to the lows down here. So that's really what I was waiting for to set up this morning. Or what for me was this morning, for you guys would have been this evening. Unfortunately, that hasn't really happened. What has happened instead is price has come down. It did come down, break below the monthly pivot. It came back up. We didn't get particularly decisive trending price action here. We got a lot of long tail candles, actually started to form a level of support down here. And therefore, what I was then looking for was a break of that level of support and a retest in order to trade short. And it didn't quite happen. I did get the break of the support. I didn't get the retest that I was looking for. Price came back up, but it didn't retest. It actually just went straight back up through the level. And in fact, since then, has just continued upwards pretty relentlessly. It's broken back up above the monthly pivot. So my trade idea for the day, which was on dollar yen, just hasn't really worked out the way I would have liked. I was also looking at the 15-minute time frame for a bounce in this area, and that didn't happen either. So there just was no short setup on dollar yen for me, which is what I was really hoping for today. Now, going back to the daily time frame, what this actually could potentially mean, well, first of all, price could come back down beneath that monthly pivot. And if it does, I will yet again be looking for short opportunities. So that's one option that I'm not completely going to rule out. The other thing that could happen is today's bar could close as a bullish bar. And if that does happen, then what we've got is a higher low here. We still have lower highs currently. And so what this is doing is it's forcing the consolidation into a smaller and smaller pattern, a smaller and smaller apex to this consolidation pattern. And therefore, the longer the consolidation goes on for, and the tighter it ends up getting, the bigger the potential breakout could be. So this is actually not necessarily a bad thing at all, because if I now get a higher low at this point, followed by another lower high perhaps, and price just consolidates a little bit more, then whichever way it breaks out, we can anticipate it being a stronger breakout. So instead of just aiming down to these previous lows, I would perhaps even aim even further. Obviously, looking for suitable places to take profit along the way. So that was really my main trading idea for the day. And to be honest with you, I don't think I'm now going to get the opportunity to trade that for today. A couple of other things that I have been looking at. Pound Aussie. If we just look at the daily time frame here on Pound Aussie, in fact, weekly time frame obviously looks very, very bearish. There is a support level here, which price is just breaking through currently. So that, if price does manage to continue downwards from here, then that could be a pretty bearish sign. And that actually would be a trend that is, I hesitate to say established. It's not a very well established trend on the daily time frame, but it's certainly, we do see a lower high, we see a lower low, prices come down, broken beneath the lows. This is the level that I'm looking at, and price currently is breaking below that level. So on any lower time frame, it just is going to take a retracement and a retracement to a suitable area, and then I'll be looking to get into that to the downside. So Pound Aussie is something that I am bearish on at the moment. Euro GBP, basically anything to do with a bearish pound. We're not doing so well in the UK at the moment, as I was discussing with Orlando yesterday, in terms of the news around Brexit, in terms of the fears of a second wave of the coronavirus, and is that going to eventually lead to a second full lockdown or not? No one's really sure. So speculatively, the pound is not doing so well at the moment. So anything to do with trading a bearish pound is something that I am more than happy to do. So Euro GBP long fits with that. The problem I have with this is that we've got the monthly R2 level just coming up, which could be a strong level of resistance. But in terms of trading opportunity, what that could mean is that it hits the monthly R2 and retraces, and perhaps gives us maybe a long opportunity from there, which could be tradable. So that's an option on Euro GBP. Apart from that, I don't have an awful lot of things on my watch list for today, to be honest with you. I mean, I said this yesterday, I think I said it this morning as well in Jeff Nash's show. There are times when the trends will come to an end, or will at least pause or stop continuing in the way they have been. And as a trend trader, it's not my job to then go rummaging around and trying to find a trade somewhere else. It's my job to stay out of those markets while they're not trending, wait for the trends to resume, and then start making money again. So it's not my job to sit here and try and scrape together a few trades just because I feel stressed if I don't trade for a day. I'm absolutely fine not trading for 2 weeks at a time if the trends are not there. So Aussie dollar is another thing that I have been very bullish on of late. As you can see, I am still in long positions on Aussie dollar, and I'm going to hold those long positions. But in terms of getting into anything new, I'm not looking at getting into anything new to the upside, because right now the momentum is downwards on the daily time frame. But I'm not looking at getting into anything on to the downside either, because I have so much support or potential support down here that I don't know when any kind of short-lived downtrend might end and where price might go to. I'd just be kind of, I'd be speculating, I'd be guessing, and I'm not really interested in that. So those are things that I'm going to leave. The Nasdaq and the S&P, well, I do have levels here, which is pretty useful. So the S&P, these previous all-time highs, that is a strong level for me. So it was a strong level of potential resistance. It's now become, or it was then also a strong level of support here. We saw buyers try and creep back into the market at this level. It's now been broken, so it could become a level of resistance again. And if that happens, let me just put this next level in as well, which is resistance here, and has been support over here. So it's a bit of a level. None of these levels are particularly really strong levels, because there have hardly been any touches of these levels, because price has hardly been up here before. But we can only use the price action that we've been given, and this is what we've been given. So a couple more. There is this previous high over here, which isn't a level, it's only one touch, but it's worth making a note of for lack of any other strong levels. And then this one is a stronger one, so I'll do that one a little bit thicker, because that's been strong support over here and strong resistance, and again strong support. So that's my roadmap for trading on the S&P. And if we just remove everything else from the chart and trade with the trend using these levels, then potentially I could look to trade long on this daily time frame, but also I could potentially trade short as well. So the trend on the 4-hourly, perhaps I may get a bounce at around this level here and be able to trade that short down to the next point down here. So that's something I'm looking at. Or perhaps I could look at price breaking this next level and moving further down. So I'm basically going to be trading with the trend. By with the trend, I mean with the trend that on the time frame I'm looking at, because the trends are not going to all agree. Daily time frame, still really in an uptrend. We have seen pullbacks like this before. We have seen big pullbacks here, which have resulted in eventually a continuation of the trend. Not so big over here comparatively, but we have seen these big pullbacks, which eventually result in the uptrend resuming. So this pullback at the moment here is not really any bigger than the last pullback that we saw in May, June. So I will still continue to look for long opportunities on the daily if they arise. But in the meantime, 4-hourly time frame is trending down, so I'll be looking for shorts. Hourly trending at time frame also trending down, so also looking for shorts there. That's probably the lowest I need to go down to be honest with you. 15-minute time frame, a little bit choppy at the moment. Once price approaches one of my levels, that's when I'll start looking out at the 15-minute time frame, because for example here, this level, there was a really nice retest of that level leading to a move to the downside. If that happens again down here, then I'll be looking on the 15-minute time frame. So as price approaches these levels, I'll go down the time frames to try and find suitable entries. But as things stand at the moment, I'd say the hourly is probably where I'm happy to stick and look for potential opportunities. The other thing to look at is the NASDAQ. Well, the NASDAQ hasn't made it down to what was the previous all-time high, because it has been just going up and up and up for so long. But again, all I can do is use previous highs and lows as a little bit of a guide, a little bit of a roadmap. I'll pop one in there as well. This would be the major one. If price could really start to downtrend on this daily time frame, then I'd really like to see price come down to these previous all-time highs. That would be a fantastic area to aim for. But again, just simply based on my little roadmap that I've got here, price is actually sitting at an area that could be pretty useful for a short trade, because this is a level what has been resistance over here. It's also been tested as support a couple of times, and now price has broken down through that level and it's retesting. So this is potentially an area that I would be very interested in getting short into the market on. It's pretty much setting up as we speak. I would definitely wouldn't be entering this market live. It would be on an order. But this area here is definitely of interest to me for a trade to the downside on the NASDAQ. So those are pretty much the main things that I'm looking out for. The reason I'm still looking at the NASDAQ and the S&P is because they have been at all-time highs, there is not an awful lot of support beneath price. With the currencies, for example, Aussie dollar, yes, it's moving down at the moment, but there's so much support beneath price that we just have a really difficult time working out how far it's going to go down, if the uptrend is going to resume at some point because that's the strongest direction, etc. Whereas with these indices, the NASDAQ and the S&P, because they are or have been at all-time highs, it's quite easy to just pick a few levels and trade between them. So it's not difficult to do this market analysis. Pick a few horizontal levels and trade between them. And then it doesn't really matter so much which direction the daily trend is going in. Because if I'm just looking at the hourly, well, then I can see that hourly trend is down and I can see my levels, and I just need to trade between those levels. So that's the reason that I'm still looking out at the S&P indices and the NASDAQ as well. Couple of other things to just mention. The trends on things like Singapore dollar, well, that retracement has come too far now for me to continue trading short on that. Same for dollar CAD, although dollar CAD has reached a little bit of an area, but really on dollar CAD, I'm going to just open a new chart actually, because it just makes things a little bit cleaner. Let's look at dollar CAD on this weekly time frame. I've got pretty strong resistance over here. This level has been pretty strong resistance all over here, also here. Very strong support last time it was touched at this level. It's been support here, resistance here, resistance here, it's been support here. So this is a significant level. The other level that I am fairly interested in is pretty much down the bottom here. This is an area that I envisage seeing a potential range. So price has gone down to the bottom, it's bounced there, and it's coming back up, and it's potentially heading back up to this level. That's the weekly time frame. So on the daily time frame, that level, we can just see here all of these touches, that level is definitely an area that I'd be interested in trading from. So Obviously, my hope is that price actually continues upwards for another day or so, reaches up to this level, and then I'll be looking for potential short opportunities. So I'm just going to, put a Fibonacci on there as well, just to see. If that gives any kind of overlap. Not really a fantastic overlap. It's towards the 50% level, 50% retracement level. So it's not really a Fibonacci level. In fact, the Fibonacci is closer, the 38.2 is closer to where we're sitting now. But really, I want that horizontal level to be tested. So forgetting the Fibonacci, I am looking for this price to come up to this level here. I'll be looking for a reversal sign of some sort, whether that's a high test bar or a bearish engulfing candle, something like that, at this level. And then I will be looking to trade that short, and I will be aiming for price to get back down to here, if that happens. In fact, I would be aiming for price to get further than that, but certainly I would be happy if price were to just get back down to this level here. So I need to see a decent reward to risk down to that level there. So that's dollar CAD, just something that I'm looking out for on dollar CAD. Kiwi dollar, nothing there really. I don't think I really have anything else that I'm particularly desperately keen to look at. Aussie Kiwi, this is something else that I'm looking at, potentially to the upside, because Aussie is looking weaker, but Kiwi is also looking weaker. So the two together, it could be potentially that Aussie is slightly stronger than Kiwi, and therefore price could come up here. And it's this strong level that price has bounced from here that I'm really keen on. I wasn't able to trade that bounce because I had the monthly pivot above me, which I don't like to trade into. But that's something else that that if price gets above that monthly pivot, I'll be looking out on the lower time frames for potential longs on Aussie Kiwi. I'm just going to go back to dollar yen just to see. Yeah, it's looking pretty bullish. It's looking pretty bullish. It didn't give us any long opportunities. And there isn't, in all honesty, there isn't really a strong enough level for me to trade this from at the moment. So yeah, it's just going to be a waiting game. It's going to be a waiting game on all of these things. I'd say NASDAQ is the thing that interests me the most in terms of a short opportunity on the intraday timeframes. I'd be looking at an entry. Probably just down here. And I would have reasonably tight stops on that. That gives me around a 3-to-1. Two and a half to 1. So that's what I would be looking at. If I were to trade this conservatively, I would be waiting for this low to be broken, and I would have my stops above the high. So it looks a bit more like a 2-to-1 reward to risk on the 15-minute time frame. In terms of income creator strategy, I would be able to actually get a much tighter reward to risk if I was trading this on income creator. So that's something that I will be considering as well. And it could be possible to trade this on Income Creator on the 15-minute time frame. It also looks pretty good on Income Creator on the hourly time frame. So I'm not ruling that out either. And that way I would probably be able to get slightly tighter entry, smaller distance to my stop loss as well. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Now, I was expecting Jeff to be in by now. He's not in. I was certainly expecting Orlando to be in as well, and he's not in either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just draw the show to a close. I don't want to waste your time going through things that I'm not interested in. So really, it's this NASDAQ that has me interested to the downside. That is definitely on my watch list. Dollar yen I probably cooled off on for now, but I'm really interested to see how today ends up on that dollar yen, because if it ends up as a bullish day, then there's definitely the potential for a breakout to either side, and we're just getting tighter and tighter in this consolidation range, which means a breakout could be more lucrative if it does happen. So I am still interested in that. And then, of course, the dollar CAD, just need to be a little bit patient on the dollar CAD, wait for it to come up a little bit more. Again, this is something that probably I will be looking back at again tomorrow and looking out for a potential entry opportunity there. Just looking on the 4-hourly, it's not really giving me anything on the 4-hourly. So it's going to be the daily that I'm looking at on dollar CAD. That's what I'm most interested in. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Sorry we don't have Orlando. I'm not quite sure what happened to him there, but I'm sure he will be back for tomorrow's show. I will certainly be back for tomorrow's show. You have got Jeff and Ash coming up at the bottom of the hour for the preview to the US Open show. And that is always a fantastic and surely action-packed session. So don't miss that. Coming up in just over 15 minutes time. Cheers for tuning in, guys. We will speak soon.